Hello, my name is Ryan, and welcome for another edition of Barefoot Poetry in the Park. Sorry for showing you my fat feet. I just wanted to make sure that you knew I was barefoot, not just making a claim. In any case, I have a special poem for you. I read this months ago, and I thought about it, and I haven't memorized it or anything like that. It's in this old Harvard classic poetry book that I have read a couple poems for you on YouTube. And the one I'm going to bring to you today is by William Ernest Henley. And the title of the poem is Invictus. Here it is right here. Okay, here we go. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Okay, those are the 4 stanzas of Invictus by William Ernest Henley. And so I'm going to go over those one by one and then talk about, or maybe raise a few questions for you to think about at home. So the first stanza. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. So you can imagine the image of being in a night that just covers you. And how dark is this night? Well, it's black as the pit from pole to pole. So you are submerged in darkness, which traditionally is a very scary feeling, where you cannot see. You have all sorts of monsters that can jump out from you, lots of dangers, and you're in this darkness. But there's one thing that he thanks the gods that may be. So he doesn't say the Christian God, the Muslim God, the Chinese God, the Indian God, whatever gods may be. I do thank them for my unconquerable soul. So the idea of the soul, I'm not a professional philosopher or a historian, but there has been an idea that we humans have this soul inside of us that gives us the breath of life, that once our soul leaves our body, we are gone. And so he thanks the gods for his unconquerable soul. Down in the next stanza, in the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. So in the fell clutch, so fell is like evil or dark. The clutch, it's like a holding you. What is holding me in this evil way? It's circumstance. Sometimes we find ourselves in life either in the darkness or in deadly or evil circumstances. I have not winced nor cried aloud. So because of his unconquerable soul, even when he's in the grip of really bad and foreboding circumstances, he doesn't wince. He doesn't wince, and he doesn't cry aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance. So a bludgeon is like a large or a hard hit with something blunt. So like a club or a fist. Under the bludgeonings of chance. So once again, circumstances, random events that may happen. His head is bloody but unbowed. So he takes these hard knocks from fate, these hard knocks from life, these hard knocks from random events that come to him. And his head gets bloody, right? We cannot avoid taking the damage that comes our way. It doesn't matter how strong my soul is. If I get into an accident, I will suffer some consequences. Whether or not that was my doing, I may become bloody. But I do have the option of how I react to it. I don't necessarily have to put my head down and cry, woe is me. I could keep my head up, even though it's painful, even though life is hard, even though I've taken some hard knocks, the bludgeonings of chance, the fell clutch of circumstance, and I've got blood all over me, but it's unbowed. I keep my head up. My soul, there's something stronger in my soul. It's not subservient to pain, not subservient to chance, not subservient to darkness. Third stanza. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. So beyond this place of wrath and tears, perhaps he's talking about life in general. Perhaps he's talking about his life. He calls it a place of wrath and tears. So a place where there's a lot of sadness, a place where there's a lot of anger, a place where there is violence and tragedy. And sure enough, all lives have some tragedy. All lives have some violence. Perhaps some more than others. And beyond this, what's beyond this? What's beyond this world of tragedy, this place of violence and sadness? Well, he says in that second line, looms but the horror of the shade. So looms, it's sort of hanging out in the background, waiting for you. And he calls it the horror, and he uses capital H, horror, the horror of the shade, the darkness. So more darkness, right? Even though he might be in darkness here, and he's filled in a place with wrath and sadness and tragedy, tears, and even beyond that is the horror of the shade. So there's an idea that a lot of people have. Now, some people believe that after life on earth, you go to heaven, and some people believe you go to hell, and some people believe you go to purgatory, or you're reincarnated, and there's lots of different ideas about the afterlife. But one idea is perhaps you just go into darkness. But in any case, it is sort of dark because we don't know. At least we have only guesses or testaments from people who wrote down long ago their ideas. But it's the horror. What is after? What is after life? What is after this place of wrath and tears? He calls it the horror of the shade. Whether or not he disappears into eternal darkness and blackness and no consciousness, or goes somewhere else. But he says, and yet the menace of the years. So it's sort of a menace, right? When you have no idea what is looming in that afterlife experience, that after-death experience. Maybe your years are filled with a little bit of menace, or at least the menace of not knowing whether or not it's an active conscious thing. Just the fact that you don't know what is coming down the pike. It's sort of a menace, right? But it doesn't have to be. This is just William Ernest Henley's interpretation. Perhaps for you it's an exciting adventure. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe it gets better. Maybe who knows what happens after we die. That's the exciting part. But in any case, for some people it's a menace. And even though, because you have your soul, because he has his soul, it finds and shall find me unafraid. So he's unafraid of death. He's unafraid of what looms in the shade, whatever horror it is. And he will be unafraid. He has this soul in him, this soul that gives him an unconquerable ability to wade through the darkness that is black as the pit, that allows him to deal with the fell clutches of circumstances and the bludgeonings of chance, to keep his head up even when it's bloodied, to deal with whatever is looming in the horror of the shade, the soul allows him to face this head up, unconquered, and unafraid. And then in the fourth stanza, it matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. So there is an idea. So now we're talking once again about after death. What happens? Is it a straight gate? It matters not how straight the gate, right? That's kind of scary. You see this really straight gate and you don't know if you can fit. Well, me and all of my earthly sins and all of my discrepancies and all of my misdeeds, will we be able to fit into that straight gate? Not a lot of people can fit into that straight gate and get to paradise, right? He's sort of alluding to heaven. But he says it matters not how straight and how charged with punishments the scroll. Now he talks about, you have this biblical image of a scroll with all of your crimes written on it. Ryan, you're guilty of this, 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 and it lists all of your punishments that you're going to have to suffer for your misdeeds on earth or in life. It's a scary thought for a lot of people. But all of your foibles will one day have a reckoning. So it doesn't matter how difficult it is to get to heaven. It doesn't matter how much punishment I have to suffer in hell, is what he's saying. Why doesn't it matter? Because of this. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. So it doesn't matter what comes down the pike. Doesn't matter where I'm at. Doesn't matter what comes my way. Why? Because I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Because inside of me is something that is beyond and more powerful than anything that comes my way. I have this. If I have my soul and I am at the helm, then it doesn't matter what comes my way. Now, I believe that is a beautiful idea, an absolutely treasure to have in your life. To have an idea that your soul, it's your soul, your life, your eyes, your soul is here, right, looking, shining out. And I don't know, if this makes sense to you metaphysically or anything like that, but at least the idea is a beautiful idea, right? That you have this unconquerable soul, and sure enough, if you imagine that, and you believe you have it, then you go out into the world like that. Boom, doesn't matter what comes my way. Tragedy in my family, tragedy at work, get arrested, get smacked around, get struck by a lightning bolt. There's lots of ways that you can worry about in life. There's a lot of ways in life that you can surround yourself with darkness. Oh my God, this happened to me, that happened to me. Maybe this will happen in the future. There's looming horrors. And there's a lot of ways that we can find ourselves sort of on the defensive, or put our head down and submit. But if you believe that you are the captain of your fate, if you believe that, and doesn't mean your ship's not going to sink, but the captain goes down with the ship proudly. If you can believe that you have a soul inside of you, something that is powerful, something that is giving you spirit, well, then you can walk right through all those punishments on that scroll. Oh, okay. You want to punish me? Okay. Go ahead. Oh, you don't want to let me through that straight gate into heaven? Okay. Whatever. I'm the captain of my fate. I've got an unconquerable soul. Whether or not that makes sense to you, I believe it is a beautiful way to think and a beautiful imagery. And I just like that poem. And I hope you liked it as well. And I hope you got something out of it. And I hope the park wasn't too noisy. I think just birds chirping, but sometimes planes go overhead, dogs bark. And I thank you for being patient with me and dealing with sometimes my excited, nervous energy. And I had a lot of fun doing this for you, and I hope you did as well. If you like this video, please click like If you want more, click subscribe. I will be bringing you more poetry, classics, as well as perhaps some more originals from myself. And I wish you guys all the best. Have a great day.